Nearly every generation in human history has had some sort of crisis they've had to go through in order to get on to the next generation. This could be, examples could be World War II for the silent generation, Vietnam War for the baby boomers, so and so. The acidification of the Earth's oceans is a very real problem. It will affect every single one of us in every facet of the world. I have spent countless hours studying this topic for this speech and also on my own time because I'm thoroughly fascinated and also terrified by what this could mean for us. This new threat is definitely arising. The threat of ocean acidification will test humanity from its politics to its technological advancements. By overloading the Earth's atmosphere with CO2, we are subsequently overloading the Earth's oceans with carbonic acid. As you can see in this diagram, when CO2 makes contact with the water, if it has enough energy, it will dissolve into carbonic acid, which will then release its H+ ions and turn into a carbonate. These H+ ions will reduce the pH of the water and cause it to be more acidic. This acidity will end up hurting the ocean ecosystem by a great deal. This is very important because the ocean ecosystem provides a major food source to a majority of the Earth's population, since a majority of the Earth's population lives near some sort of coastline. By protecting the organisms that are food for the fish, such as zooplankton, pteropoda, and foraminifera, we will end up creating a sustainable environment for which the fish in the oceans can live and for us to be able to consume them so we can also survive. Any change in the ocean's pH and temperature could change the entire biosphere. This is incredibly dangerous as the climate we've evolved into has shaped us very greatly. If the climate changes by a great deal, it can end up meaning the extinction of many life forms on this planet, possibly even us. There's proof of a mass extinction being caused by this before during the Permian mass extinction. And L. Kerman, in his 2013 article published called Atmospheric Carbon Injection During the End Permian Extinction, shows that the geological date between heightened carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere and the Great Permian Extinction, which wiped out 95% of life on Earth, is directly on point. Therefore, it can be inferred that if similar conditions were to arise today, the same result could also occur. To solve this problem, we will need to greatly reduce or cease the production of carbon dioxide through almost any means. This means heavily investing in renewables and even going into nuclear energy provides a stopgap to give us more time to create more renewable energy sources. Another important part of this would be to enforce legislation to make sure people either switch to these new energy sources and are spilling more CO2 in the atmosphere. If there is no change, there will be a massive loss of marine life all across the world, mostly in coral reefs and shorelines. In the later in the stages, the extinction of coral reefs and also shelled organisms such as phytoplankton, zooplankton, pteropoda, and foraminifera, which are all major food sources for the various fish species across the world, will also die off. Because, like this analogy, your teeth are made of calcium carbonate. If they're left in acidic soda for too long, they will dissolve and end up rotting. The same can be said for the calcium carbonate shells of various marine organisms. If they're in acid too long, they will literally dissolve off them. And this will greatly reduce their numbers and provide a less food supply for the various fish species. which will in turn provide less fish for us to eat. This loss of fishing and great death of the fish species will result in the rise of an old bacteria commonly known for what its energy production scheme is. It's called hydrogen sulfide producing bacteria, or sulfate reducing bacteria, because it reduces sulfates and produces hydrogen sulfide gas. Usually it only produces sulfates from gas vents. However, it can also consume a large amount of sulfates from decaying organic material such as dead fish and other dead microbes. This is the possibility of completely taking over the oceans. As more and more animal life and plant life in the oceans die, this bacteria will continue to grow in size and possibly continue to reduce sulfates and produce hydrogen sulfide all across the oceans. I cannot stress how possibly dangerous this is, as hydrogen sulfide is a very, very toxic gas and can easily be smelled by human senses. As you can see up there, those are some of the effects of breathing in hydrogen sulfide gas. That is what could happen if we do not change. If we do change and fast change is implemented, we could prevent a massive loss of life in the marine biosphere, and also create a sustainable economy and energy system for which we could live off for a very long time. Not eternity, but for a very long time. Some damage will still be done, since already the ocean is somewhat acidified and there's still a lot of carbon in the atmosphere. I urge all of you, in an effort to combat this problem, to reduce all of your individual carbon footprints. This can be as simple as not taking that one road trip, maybe just hanging out at home, or maybe doing a hike around town or in a nearby park with friends. It could also be changing to an electric car, and any sort of thing to reduce your carbon footprint. If possible, try to convince others to get up in this cause, or work your way through life by trying to influence politics whenever possible, or maybe going to the science to find alternative energy sources, or possibly a technological miracle that could solve this problem in a different way. The only way to win this fight at this point is to reduce CO2 beyond the point which the Earth can recycle it on its own. If that does not happen, there's a very real possibility there could be a time when there's only one human left on Earth. No. Choices must be made by all of us as the shadow of this problem looms closer. Although it is, to be truthful, it is probably around 100 years away before it gets to this point. But this fight is not necessarily for us, it's for all of our children and their children and their children as well. If this fight is not won, the human civilization and possibly our race itself could fall into oblivion. We must all do our part to keep the human race's legacy alive. Otherwise, it will simply be